Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show today. We have a gentleman, Tony Lyons, with us, a man who was born, bred and reared in Mullingar.
In Patrick Street in Mullingar, yeah.
And he has something going on next week, I think, on the 11th. Is the 11th?
Tuesday, the 11th.
And tell us what's going on, Tony.
Well, it's the launch of a book that was started by Jimmy Mulderry.
Yeah.
And it's really his memoir.
Okay.
It's about him growing up in the street, his neighbours, his friends, and the people he knew there. But not also in the street. He was not only in the street. He was also very interested in meeting other people, particularly around the town, and then outside the town in various villages. So he'd gone from Kinnegad to Rochford Bridge, and from Streamstown to wherever.
I'm going to show us the store here. It's a little bit noisy. How's it going? That's the job now.
So you can edit away, can you?
Oh, this is live. We're going live, my friend. This is direct to the people. There's no letting up. This is the real conversation.
All right, okay.
So yeah, we're going live on our Facebook page, and we've Sally Taylor looking in the whole way from Derry there with us at the moment.
Hiya, Sally.
Brilliant. So how did you get? This is a book that's going to be launched on the 11th. How did you get involved originally?
I was on a trip home to visit my parents, and I met Jimmy on the street, and he says, there you are, young Lyons. He says, do you know something? I'm going to tell you. I'm writing a book. And I was thinking to myself, well, fair play to you, Jimmy. And before I could ask him what it was all about, he says, and you're all going to be in it. I said, well, that's great. I look forward to having a look at that. So it would have been about 3, maybe 4 years after that I met him again, and I asked him how the book was going. He said, well, I have it finished. You know?
Yeah.
And I knew sort of by his demeanour that there was something a bit disappointing about it. And he said, I tried to have it published in a local paper, but I declined it, you know.
Right.
So I said, well, that just sparked my interest, and I said, well, look, I'd love to have a look at it at some stage. He says, I'll give you a copy. So we arranged to meet, and he gave me this copy of his work. And it was it consisted of about 200 A4 pages.
Right.
And it was
written?
bound together with a plastic spiral. And when I looked at it first, I thought, okay, right. What he had done, Jimmy didn't write the book per se. He recorded his memories on a series of dictaphone tapes.
Wow.
And it had been typed verbatim. Now, I don't know who typed it.
Yeah.
But she probably just had her headphones on, or he, or whoever, and typed it away as she listened to it.
Yeah.
And it didn't have any real structure, and was lacking in correct punctuation, and it was
Mistakes and all.
Yeah, totally unedited.
Excellent, yeah.
And Jimmy had scribbled in a few corrections on it in his handwriting. But in any event, it came with me from Patrick Street in Mullingar to Phibsborough in Dublin, where I was living, and then down to Brittisbeg, where I'm currently living.
Right.
It was up in the attic, it was under the stairs, it was out in the shed in an old trunk, and I came across it about 2.5 years ago.
Right.
And as Hamlet says in Shakespeare, he said, conscience doth make cowards of us all. So I decided,
you were afraid to sort of look at it or read it or put it out.
Well, the strange thing about it is when I started reading it first, I couldn't make head nor tail of it because it wasn't properly sequenced. And it was akin to, in a way, to reading James Joyce's Ulysses, you know, for the first time. Not that I'm comparing Jimmy Mulderry with James Joyce, but they're two Jimmys anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But nonetheless, it was all in there, you know. But the fact that it reminded me of Ulysses, there was a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson called Ulysses, about a restless king who decides that he'd go off on his travels again, and and I open my foreword and I finish off my editorial notes with 2 quotes from that particular poem, and the first one is, old age hath yet his honour and his toil. Death closes all, but something ere the end, some work of noble note, might yet be done. So that's how I open it.
Wow.
Because, I mean, Jimmy was pushing on 80 by the time he decided to do this. He was well into his 70s.
But had a clear memory of...
An extraordinary memory and capacity for names and places and the seed and breed of everyone. Yeah?
Go on.
Yeah. I mean, when he's naming the shops and businesses in Patrick Street, he can tell you who got married to who and where they wound up.
A thing that has disappeared.
Oh, yeah, extraordinary. Yeah. And he talks about, we say, the characters that he knew when he was growing up. But to all intents and purposes, he was a character, right, in his own right. But
what did Jimmy do then himself?
Well, it's all in there.
Yeah.
Jimmy came from humble enough circumstances, and he rose to sort of getting his own business together and sustaining his family, through it. He was always fascinated by the shops in Patrick Street, and he names them
the
all.
shops? There's only a handful. Well, I wouldn't say there's any shops there now.
Well, I remember most of the ones that he spoke about, and he starts off with, he says, do you know what the first shop on Patrick Street, when you're coming in from Grange in the Athlone Road, he said, and I said, who? He says, well, it's your Granny Lyons.
This is up on the left-hand side as you come in?
As you're going, as you're coming in from Grange.
Yeah.
It would be number 33, the Valley Cottages.
Right. On the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side as you're coming up into the town.
Yeah.
And then on the left-hand side where Kenny's garage fuel depot, all that was Cleary's Orchard.
Right, yeah, I haven't heard of that. Yeah,
that was the first dwelling on the left-hand side. And before you came to that was the well field. And that's where we used to kick football locally, either that or up in the camp field.
And then there's meant to be ferries up in the field as well, further up.
There could be all sorts of characters up there.
In the camp field.
Well, yeah, we won't go into that now. But anyway, so that was it. I mean, it was open countryside. From the next house to Cleary's was a bungalow.
Yeah.
Paddy McLaughlin's bungalow. And then McKeown Terrace, where I was born.
Okay.
So when we came out our front gate and turned right, we passed down by Paddy McLaughlin's and Cleary's Orchard, and you were into open countryside on the right, and you had the Valley Cottages that stretched all the way down on the left-hand side before the Lakeland Ballroom was built.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was all open countryside, and we used to go down to the camp to the well field. We might kick around a bit of football, but then further on out there was a little drain where you could catch minnows. We used to call it the Pinkeen Drain.
Brilliant, yeah.
And that's now all gone. It's viaducted, but there was a little tunnel under the canal, and it came out on the opposite side. Now you had an aperture of maybe about 3 feet, and it was built like a little vaulted tunnel. And the challenge was to go through that all the way over to the other side of the canal and avoid falling into the deeper water on the other side. Now, when I say deep water, we're about 2 foot deep. But where you went into it, it was only about 6 inches.
And what was this for? Was it for cattle or dogs or cats or who to go across?
I think it was just a waterway that they seemed to think should be diverted to the lower ground on the far side of the canal.
And then it was taken out.
And I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been up. But like idiots, I suppose bravado would take over, and you take off your shoes and socks and hang them around your neck, put the laces up and hang them around your neck. And of course we were all wearing short trousers at the time, and you'd be going waddling through this little tunnel. But when you got to the other side, you had to jump onto a bank. Sometimes you might miss and fall into the 2 foot of water, and then you'd have to stay there until the trousers dried before you went home to your mother, or you get a clatter in the ear.
Now it's called Cabbage Street. It was called Cabbage Street at that time. Why was that?
No, it wasn't called Cabbage Street then. It's all there.
So this is going back to the 40s and 50s, is it?
Well, I'm talking about the 50s.
Okay.
But Jimmy was 30 years my senior. He was born in 1919.
Okay.
So I wasn't born until 49.
Okay.
And I'm talking about what I've just described there would have been in the mid to late 50s, when I was about 7 or 8 years old.
Clear memories.
Yeah. Well, I remember most of the
Yeah.
shops and businesses that Jimmy spoke about.
Now, talking about shops and businesses, we are in a Little Bird Told Me
Yeah.
cafe, and it's been very good to give us the green room, and literally it is a green room.
Yeah.
Now, they've a room out the front, which the reception area, and get the coffee, and then there's a green room. I think there's a room upstairs as well.
Yeah.
But tell me, what was this building when you were
This
on it?
was Mrs. Donnelly's bakery shop.
Wow.
And Jimmy mentions it in his book. There's a character called Blackie Caroon who used to deliver the bread around the town in a covered hand cart.
Right.
I can't remember him, but I remember Mrs. Donnelly, and she had a couple of sons here. I can't remember all of the family, but and Tony became a court clerk in Dublin. He was a great friend of my older brother Frank, because he was in the Department of Justice at the time.
Right.
But anyway. This
was the bakery.
This area out here may have been where she prepared the
Correct, because it's a beautiful old building, like, and it's
Yeah.
nice and stone, the lovely colour stone.
And she had a little shop counter then out front where the cafe is, and you could get half a dozen apples for a penny. When we'd be going back to school in September.
Wow.
They were only small little characters, but they were very sweet.
Right.
If you get half a dozen of them, you stuff them in your pockets. It saved us going in over the wall into Cleary's orchard, where most of the apples were cookers, And if Cyril Cleary caught you, I'll tell you,
You'd remember.
He would absolutely remember.
Now, as well as that, I think Uncle Joe got lessons on the piano here next door.
He did, yeah.
Who's that lady?
Just across, there's a little, there's an alleyway.
Yeah,
There was
here.
an archway, right, between here and Molly Carroll's. And Carroll's used to sell milk.
Right.
And they delivered it around the town as well. But in the front room of Molly Carroll's was the piano, and that's where the lessons were carried out. And you'd hear her putting the lads through the paces when I'd often sit there and trying to avoid looking directly in, but listening to what was going on, because there was great friends of mine from Mary Street. Murphy's. It was Pierce and his older brother, whose name will come to me in a minute.
Yeah.
And they went there, So
Pierce, is he in Australia?
Pierce has passed on by now. Jerry was his older brother. Yeah, Pierce died, I think, in Canada or up
in Alaska, or he was way up.
Yeah, way up.
With the Inuits.
Yeah, with the Inuit Indians.
Oh my God.
I only met him once after he'd gone away.
Yeah.
But we were great pals. We got up to all sorts of rascality, and God knows how we weren't thrown in jail or sent to our team at the time.
And then moving
weren't
up.
too bad. We were just rascals, more so than I'd like to think, than criminals.
Now, if you could say the street was here, what was down the town then? I mean, did you have a lot of shops down the town as well?
Oh yeah.
At this time, so we had all the shops here on Patrick Street.
Well, you had, let's look at the shops. I mean, just here, this morning before I came in here, I was just looking on the right-hand side there. There was Ned Whelan's, which is gone. Mick Bagnall's pub. I think that was taken over, but it has another pub name on it now.
But was that a pub originally?
Oh yeah.
Way back?
Yeah,
into the...
that was Murray's pub.
Ah.
Yeah, and they were related to Murray's, the butchers across the road, apparently, according to Jimmy. Now, I wouldn't have known that other than what he had written, or he was recorded. And then there was Mulcrone's beside Bagnall's.
Okay.
There was a little haberdashery shop where you could get anything from, threads to wools to zippers and all of that sort of thing for dressmaking. And one of the Mulcrones, and she's featured in a photograph of the book, she went to be a professor of archaeology and God knows, and she one of the first professors, and she worked out of Galway University. But and there was all sorts of wonderful people came from our Cabbage Street. When we spoke about Cabbage Street, sometime in the late 1800s, or 1700s, and Ruth Illingworth has helped me out on this bit, and she has a little passage that I've pasted onto the last page of the cover of the book, and she describes the origins of Patrick Street. Or Cabbage Street, as it was known. And I came across it when I was doing my research on a map that was printed in 1837.
Wow.
So I've featured that map. It makes up part of the cover, and then I have the actual map depicted inside. And I remember as a kid, and I mentioned this in my editorial, our boy said, and where would you be from now? I says, I'm from Patrick Street, mister. Yeah. Patrick Street. Yeah. No, you're not, he says. You're from Cabbage Street. That's where you're from. I thought, typical Mullingar, nicknames for everything. And because we all had big back gardens. And my father used to distribute cabbage plants. He was a very avid gardener, and he's from seed. And he'd give them around to the neighbours. And then he'd sold garden produce to Dan Mullally. And Dan Mullally lived on Patrick Street, but he had a shop down on Oliver Plunkett Street.
Right.
Yeah, it's all daft.
And at that time as well, because all that big space is out the back of the house, so it was always used for growing all what you needed, actually.
Nearly everybody set a garden until maybe they got a good job, or they didn't have time to do it. But I remember my father tilled 3 of those gardens at one stage because... I don't know, they were there to be done, and he knew the neighbours well, and said...
And in your family then, how many was in your family? Or
there were 6 of us. Well, my mother and father and 6 children. My eldest sister died a few years back.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Rena, she left in the late 50s, and she took up nursing.
Wow. And
married a lad from Kilbeggan, who's actually featured in when he was about 10 or 12 year old. Having come second to Hubie McGee in the first fla on the flageolet.
Wow.
Right, and I have the 2 of them there. I couldn't get, believe it or not, for all the photographs that Sean McGee has taken, he couldn't find anything for me of, Hubie back in that particular day. But my sister had a photograph of her husband, and in his little flesh outfit. So both of them were featured together.
Paddy Maloney, I think, was John
Paddy Maloney
well.
was there, and Newsom, and not Newsom, Rosen, Leo Rosen. He's involved in it. And it was the Cultus Ceoltóirí Éireann was founded in Mullingar.
Correct, yeah.
They didn't have it was founded by the Moynahans and the others, and they didn't have enough room where they were, so they all headed down to the Midland Hotel, where the bold Rank Riley was the proprietor there, and Mrs. Mullally was involved as well. She's Phil's wife. He was worked in the cathedral for years.
Your sister then, so who else was in your family?
So the next is Johnny, JJ, we used to call him. He's mildly handicapped, and he's living in sheltered housing there in Millmount.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, but and he's happy out. He's over 80 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And he doesn't come out as much as he used to, but he's a hail fellow, well met, and he talked to everyone as they went, harmless enough,
Brilliant.
But a good old character, enjoyed the laugh, And then there's my brother Frank. He's retired as civil servant. And then next is my sister Rosie, and she lives in Littleton in Tipperary, and she unfortunately lost her husband to brain hemorrhage around time of COVID. And then my younger brother Pat, who is the tallest of the whole lot of us, So
he got all the dinner.
He got all the turnips, and we were all gone off earning our living, seeking our fortune now to try.
And tell me, your mother and father, where did they come from?
My dad was born in Patrick Street. His people would have come from Rathcoleman, out beyond Grange there.
Not too far.
Not too far. And then my mother was from Kinnegad. And Jimmy mentions my mother's family because Jimmy's first real job was with Dinny McDermott when they were out. Dinny had an oil truck for the Shell Company.
Go on.
And I from Ruth, his lovely daughter-in-law. Ruth's still alive. She's hopping around like a sparrow. She's over 90. But I got a photograph from her of her husband's father, Dinny. She's married to Dinny, and then there was Dinny Senior. But Dinny Senior had this Ford Model T oil truck, worked for the Shell Company. And Jimmy Modari's first real job was a helper for Dinny, and they became lifelong friends. Yeah. and Dinny taught him how to drive, which was a great asset to him back in the day. You know.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
And as well as that, driving, it was very manual at that time because there was no power steering.
Yeah.
You need muscles to actually
absolutely,
to drive.
Crash gearboxes where you drop out of a gear, you rev like mad to keep the revs up, and then bang it into the
Bang it
next
into
gear.
it, yeah.
But-
Driving without clutch.
But getting back to my mother, said she was one of the Farrells in Kinnegad, and I think there was 10 in the family. Her parents had been in the States at the turn of the century and came back, I think, in early 1910 or thereabouts. But anyway, they had 10 children there, and then a family of Lyons. The parents died of TB, and they took on their children, so there was 15 of them. But fortunately, my mother's family had a little farm and a shop in Road in County Offaly, and some of the kids were farmed out.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
because they needed labour.
Yeah, well, it's not that they needed space, and those people didn't. Just there was only one son involved in the Kelly family in Road.
Yeah.
So she was raised alongside her cousin, and a few of her brothers and were raised there as well. You know.
And yourself then, when did you leave Mullingar, or
Do we have to?
well, you know, I mean, we're covering everything today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I went to school in St Mary's College. Well, I went first of all to presentation, and then primary school and secondary school, or Latin as it was referred to back in the day.
You learned your true Latin.
Yeah. We learned our subjects through Irish. Gach ein over tre Gaeilge, Achawan, Tagus Christi, Agus Berla. So that meant every subject through Irish, with the exception, of course, of English, which was called Berla on the Clore, right?
Yeah.
And Christian doctrine. And I remember asking one of the brothers, I said, why is Christian doctrine, Tagus Christi? I said, why is that taught through English? Well, he says, you know, some of the priests would be examining you, would have been out on the foreign missions, and they might have lost touch with the language. Anyway, look, that's the way it is. So it took me a long time to realise that if you didn't get a grasp on understanding the Irish language, there was no way you were getting out that gate of heathen. So
Right, the double.
Yeah, so you learned your Tagus Christi through English.
Very
Right?
good.
So that was the crack.
And then you finished your education and then headed for...
Well, yeah, I did. I took a day off school, and I went after the insert, and I did an exam, a civil service exam, for the post office. And I wound up, you know, well, I wasn't all that particularly pushed about it, but I wound up in the first 100. I think I was 81 or thereabouts, number 81. And of course, a lot of the guys didn't go to the call, but I got the call, and I thought, I'm out of here.
So is this in Mullingar?
Yes, it was in Mullingar, but we sat the exam in Mullingar, but it was a national sort of call.
Okay, so you could go anywhere.
It was within the first 100 in Ireland. I don't know whether that's
Wow.
or whatever, but anyway.
Very good.
But a lot of the guys that would be in the first top 40 or whatever, or 50, they probably weren't interested and continued on their education because they had other things in mind, we said, like going to college. But in any event, so I decided to hightail it. And I went to Cavan Town to do my general training. And then I came back to Mullingar to do teleprinter training. And Paddy Whelan from Patrick Street was in charge of the teaching us typing and all of that, so that you could send telegrams.
Wow.
You know, so you're on teleprinter.
And where did that work out of here in Mullingar?
Well, it was in the post office, you know, and most of the post offices, we said the bigger post offices would have had teleprinter scenarios. So it was like you dial up like it was like a phone call.
Yeah.
It'd be like a fax communication at the time.
Yeah.
And then and the receiver then on the other end would get this tape coming out, and you had to cut off the tape and stick it onto a little telegraph page, and that would go into a little envelope address, and the telegram boy would deliver that to whatever destination it was due to go to. So
they'd go to another post office, and then
it'd be like
they would figure out what the message is. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah, no, you got the message in at the desk. We say you're at the post office desk, and somebody comes in and they say, "I want to send a telegram."
Okay.
So you took out your form and you wrote down the address to which it was going to, the message, and who signed it, and then you count up all the words on
Right.
it, and you charge them per the amount of words. That
Very
was
good.
the thing. And then you could also send money by telegram at the time. So they were called telegraph money orders. But you bought the price of the value of what you were sending at the counter, and then when it got to the other end, it was issued as a money order to the recipient. Yeah.
Very good. So you were a teleprinter then for a while, and
Yeah, well, that's why I learned how to type
Wow.
originally. Yeah.
and that was a big thing at the time,
yeah,
to be able to
absolutely,
type, because everyone was still writing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And attached writing as well. I remember the 4 lines on the page, that your
Connected all up there.
Yeah, your capital started at the top and came down, and sometimes traversed down.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, but it was almost akin to writing the dots on a music score, except you have 5 lines there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you got into music as well.
What I did, I'm a guitar owner, right?
Okay. I own 2 of them.
But I'm not very good at playing. I can sing. I could always sing.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, when I pick up a guitar and try to learn chords, which I have done, and I tried to sing, I just have to put it away and continue on with the story of the song.
Yeah.
But what happened then after? Well, I was in the post office for a period of time, and then I got involved in amateur drama.
Oh.
And I was over in the west of Ireland at the time, in Castlereagh and Roscommon, still working in the post office. And we had a drama group over there, or there was a drama group there, and I was invited to join it. And we did some plays, and we would go on the all-round Ireland sessions, and we wound up in Athlone at the finals. And fortunately, I got there a couple of times. I got Best Actor and on a few occasions, and commendations. And
what would you be doing? What type of shows would you be doing?
Well, the ones that I got awarded for was Brendan Behan's The Hostage. I played the English,
the guard.
the soldier.
Oh, yeah.
I played the English soldier in that. He said, "Oh, look, I got my name in the paper, see? I'm famous."
Go on.
Then we had. Then I was cast as part of the twins in Philadelphia. Here I Come, and the twins was one the individual, the live individual, and the other twin was his mind.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be talking to you as the what we call the public character. But my private character would be making comments on our conversation. Brian Freire, very, very clever playwright. Yeah.
So that was it. You were touring the country with the group, as I say.
We'd go out for the festivals, for the drama festivals, and if we were fortunate enough, we'd wind up getting. You had to win. I think it was 2 or 3 festivals, and then you'd be invited to the finals, and that went on for a week down in Athlone. I think it's the Dean Crowe Memorial.
That's right,
Hall
yeah.
down
Still
there.
there, yeah.
And it's great, because it gave people an opportunity, to get out and socialise. And,
exactly.
And whatever talent they had could be either commended or exposed for what it was.
But I think of as us as a nation as well, we have a natural ability to entertain in some shape or form.
But this is the scale T, the Shanna Peas that's in us all, the storytellers.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, I love to tell a story as well, And it's great to listen to people that are well able to tell stories. And that's part and parcel of our nature, So anyway, I had great notions to become a professional actor. But in the meantime, in the post office, when I was in the post office, I couldn't read. But I liked it. A lot of people stayed there forever, but I couldn't see myself doing that.
Good man.
So I'd studied interior design in a correspondence course. I was curious about design and architecture and stuff like that. But then when I got the little touch of fame for what it was worth in drama, I decided to apply for the Abbey Theatre School of Acting, and I auditioned there, and they let me in.
Well done.
Yeah, so I spent 2 years. I transferred in the post office to Dublin,
Right.
and I took evening classes then in the Abbey Theatre. The rehearsal rooms would be bare at that stage because the shows would be on. And then after that, I had to make a choice.
Right.
Was I going to stay in the post
Full-time or
office?
not-time?
Full-time or not. And so there was another facility that only lasted 1 year. It was a full theatre apprenticeship, so that you learned all of the aspects of theatre, from wardrobe. They're sewing on buttons or running messages for the wardrobe mistress, to stage management, to lighting, and to design.
Amazing.
Right. So I was really curious about this, so I had to say goodbye to the civil service.
Oh, you took the jump?
I took the jump, yeah. I told my father that I was, I remember he was working in Wallace's there on Dominic Street at the time. And I went in to talk to him, and he was, the poor man, he was on his knees and he was doing something with packages, and he did it back to me. But he was aware of the fact there was someone behind him, and he asked me, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "I'd have 17 pints of Bass, please." And without looking up, he said, "Do you want them bottled or draft?" So then he turned around. So I explained to him that I was leaving the job, and that I was going to take up either architecture or drama. And he said, "Where am I going to get the money to put you through college?" I said, "I didn't come in here to ask you for anything. I come in here to tell you what I was doing.
What I'm going to
so
do.
it's the best of luck, and go for it, you know."
Brilliant.
Even though his lifelong wish was that we'd all get settled in decent civil service or similar type jobs. You know.
And this was in the 60s or
Oh,
early
this,
70s?
This was in the early 70s. It'll be
Okay.
about 72. So anyway, I took the apprenticeship in the theatre and said goodbye to the job, and took a great interest in lighting and design. And even though I worked as a freelance actor, singer and dancer for a couple of years with shows like JC Superstar, Joseph, Cabaret, and various pantomimes and stuff like that, and then drama thrown in, say theatre, plays, and did a little bit of telly and a couple of films.
Brilliant.
And you could be sitting there waiting for a call forever for them, you know.
True,
And
true.
in the meantime, most of my contemporaries were living in Dublin with their mammies and daddies, and I had to fend for myself. So anything that was going,
had to do it,
I worked at. But
And it's still the same.
But I got when I was on tour with JC Superstar, Noel Pearson production. There were 6 venues, so Noel Pearson had 4, and then we started in Bor, and then we went to Limerick and to Cork and to Waterford, and then another promoter bought the show from Noel Pearson and brought it to Sligo and to Derry, and that's where I met Morris Cassidy, who was a prominent promoter. Yeah. Now, Morris is very shy of the limelight, but a very decent man. So he asked me then to become involved with Tommy Makem and Liam Clancy, because they would be going into theatres, and he needed somebody who was familiar with the techniques and the technicalities of theatre. And then also taking the show out on the road to try and turn local dance halls into a theatrical atmosphere, because they were all sit-down concerts at the time.
Wow.
So I had the great pleasure of working with Tommy Makem and Liam Clancy, and then later on I worked with Planksty and Moving Hearts. I even did a gig with Val Doonigan.
Go away!
On tour, yeah.
I always remember Val Doonigan playing in the county hall, and he had the chair, and he had makeup on. I couldn't believe it. I thought to myself, he's wearing makeup. And you'd ask him, why is he wearing makeup? Oh, they wear makeup on television. So maybe he thinks that that's the way to do it. But that was sort of my thing that stuck in my head.
The makeup is sort of related to the lighting, depending on what sort of lighting. But I mean, lighting nowadays is so subtle by comparison with the type of...
Exactly, because it was really halogens, and it was hard light, like it was hard white light, like, you know.
Yeah. But anyway, Yeah, so that worked out quite well for me. But I remember speaking about lighting shows and doing tours. We used to. There was a guy called. I'm just trying to think of his name now. He ran the Beachmont Hotel, and now Tommy. It'll come to me. In a
I know the man you're chatting about.
Yeah. He was great. Tom McCluskey.
McCluskey, yeah.
Yeah, he was great friends with Tommy Macomb.
Right.
And how the Clancy brothers and Tommy Macomb became came to Ireland on that famous tour in the 50s was we'd heard about them because they were on the radio and the whole lot. Yeah. And McCluskey was a great gambler.
That's right, yeah.
And he was going to a race meeting in upstate New York, and he heard where the lads were rehearsing, and he went anyway to have a chat with Tommy Macomb. So he knocked on the door, and this big burly lad come out. He said, "What can I do for you, man?" And he said, he spoke with a sort of a lift. He said, "I'd like to have a word with you, Tommy Macomb, and a few of the Clancy boys there." He said, "Well, they're in rehearsal now at the moment. I can't disturb. Well, will you tell them that I'm here? Tom McCluskey, and just to give me a minute." So he goes back in, and he comes back to the door. He says, "As I said, they can't come out to your home. Yeah. What's the message you want to give them?" He says, "Well," he says, "I'm on my way up to a race meeting, and you and Tommy would know me well." He says, "And I'd like to bring them over to Ireland on a bit of a tour." He says, "And there's $2,000 up front," he says, "and there's another 2,000 when they make their minds up to come," he says, "and I'll be calling in on my way back next week," he says, "and see how things are going." And that's how he brought the Clancy brothers and Tommy Macomb to Ireland.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, look, we better wrap it up here because we're after doing a great chat. Don't forget, folks, the event is on very, very soon. It's on the 11th. Yeah. And from myself and Tony here, thanks for looking in. And if you're around town on the 11th
of this month, of Tuesday evening,
which is Tuesday, yeah,
and from 6:30 p.m. the doors of the Arts Centre will be open. A little drop of wine and to welcome you in, or maybe a cup of tea or coffee, whichever your preference is. And hopefully we'll get to launch our wonderful product at about 7:30. Now you're all very welcome.
There you are, folks.
The book will be on sale on the night, and then afterwards in Just Books by Stella Lynch down on Pearse Street. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Ray, for entertaining me.
Are you entertaining me? One or the other. Okay. Look, folks, bye for now, and from myself and Tony, thank you for looking in.